Hello, Whitefish Bay Middle School students and parents. We're finally done. Our schedules have been released. You should be able to access them now in family access or in student access. Thank you so much for being patient with us while we went through this process. It was absolutely incredible. We needed to strip down everything in our schedule and rebuild it from scratch. And so it took a lot longer than what we had hoped, but we are done. And so I want to walk you through that right now because it's going to look different, especially for those of you who are 7th and 8th graders. It's going to look different than what you've seen in the past. And to our 6th grade families, this is your first time. So I want to make sure that everybody understands what you're seeing when you look in your schedule. First, I'm going to include in this email a copy of our bell schedule for all 3 grades. So currently, for example, you see on the screen the 6th grade schedule. I'm actually going to walk through an example with an 8th grader. So I pulled up a tab that's the 8th grade tab. And what I want to show you today is how I would go about looking at my family access schedule and then knowing what classes I have and where I'm supposed to be and when. Because I think especially for those of you who are virtual students or if you're in the B cohort, it's going to be really important since you won't be at school to kind of know where you need to be in Canvas and at what times. So I'm going to pull up a student. This is what you would see in family access when you access your child's schedule. Again, this is an 8th grader. So 6th and 7th graders, the order is going to look different. But the first thing I would suggest for everyone is that you go to display options and go to show current term only. We have only built Q1 schedules, so it's not worthwhile looking after Q1. We're going to do that after we get kids in school and we start successfully. So I would only be looking at Q1. The next thing I would check out is where on the screen do I see my homeroom? So if you notice right here in the middle, we have a homeroom, and it looks like homeroom is with Mr. Wieland. If you are in a virtual cohort, it will say virtual in this spot. So it's important that you look to see, am I in a virtual homeroom or am I in an in-person homeroom? This one, for example, is an in-person one because it doesn't say virtual. If there's a mistake there and you should be virtual, but you're not, we need to know about that right away so we can make that change. My suggestion then is to come back into the schedule, and by homeroom, I would put my homeroom teacher's name, which is Mr. Wieland. So that would be the first thing. So now I know I'm going to be in Mr. Wieland's class at 10:10 for homeroom. The next thing I would do is I would schedule all of my other core teachers. So if I go back in here, I see that my next core is math with Mr. Wieland. So I'm going to come back over to this schedule. I'm going to replace core 1 with math and Wieland. Remember, we're staying in the same room the whole day. So this is telling me right now, I am going to be in Mr. Wieland's classroom all day. That's my cohort class. The other teachers are going to come to me, but I'll always be with Mr. Wieland. That's what my homeroom tells me and my core 1 tells me. I'm going to come back to this tab. So core 1, I know it's core 1 because it's the first core class. It's math, ELA, science, or social studies. And it looks like I have math as core 1. Then the next core class is English Language Arts with Mr. Rayflab. So I'm going to come back to my schedule. Core 2 would be ELA with Rayflab. Oops. He's got a tricky last name, so I'm sure I'm spelling it wrong and he will forgive me later. Core 3, I'll pop back over. It's the last class then for me of the day. And so that looks like I've got science with Mrs. Drexel. Again, some students are going to have science, some are going to have social studies. That will flip at the semester. So I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to put Drexel in for my core 3 class. Oops, I messed that up. I should say science with Drexel, core 3. Okay, so now I know what my core schedules are in Canvas. For example, I know if I'm at home, if I'm a virtual student or I'm a B cohort student, at 2:20, I need to be in Mrs. Drexel's science class in Canvas. There'll be a Zoom link there that I'll click, and then that's how I'm present for that class. I'll be in there through Zoom. The next thing that I would do is then fill in my specials. If you remember, we have 2 specials periods now. In the past, it used to be 3. Now we only have 2. And so this is where it gets a little bit tricky. I'll be honest with you. One of the periods, you'll notice here, this student first period has PE and medical detectives. So there's always going to be a PE class coupled with an elective class from the wheel. You'll also notice that those are scheduled on different days. So this student has their PE class on Monday. They'll have medical detectives on Tuesday. On Thursday, again, PE and medical detectives on Friday. So that means if I am thinking about logging in from home, virtual students, you will have a Canvas class for PE, or if it's a B day, you will have a Canvas class for PE, but there won't be anything live. However, for medical detectives or art, theatrics, any other class that's in the wheel, that's an elective, you will notice in Canvas that there'll be a link to Zoom and that will be live. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to put that in my schedule. That first hour is when I have PE. Come over here, sorry. PE and medical detectives. I'm just making some shorthand notes here. And I'm going to make a note to myself that I have PE Monday and Thursday, and I have medical detectives on Tuesday and Friday. So that's just a shorthand note for me to remember. You might want to write a longer hand note to help you. Then my second specials class that's a space, remember, everything is going to be asynchronous when it comes to music and world language. This student does not have music. If they did, it would be in with their world language because that's totally asynchronous. There'll be nothing live with your music and your world language to start. We'll talk about lessons and things like that at a later date. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to put Spanish as period 2. And so that means if I'm at home, I'll have time to do my Spanish class during that time, but it's not like I have to log into Zoom and be live. Okay, so this is essentially then this student's schedule. Again, the homeroom tells me that if that student is in person, they're going to be in Mr. Whelan's classroom all day, and all of the other teachers will come to them. But at the beginning of the day, if they're at home at 8:07 on the first day of school, we would be in this PE class. And so again, that's not live. So I just need to go to the Canvas class and do what I'm told to do in Canvas. After that, at 9:07, I have Spanish. Again, that's not live, but I would go to my Spanish class in Canvas and I would complete what's being told to me there. Then at 10:10, if I'm at home, I'm logging in. I'm going to Mr. Whelan's class. I would open his math class. I would click on the Zoom link at 10:10 and we'd have our homeroom time. And Mr. Whelan will tell me what we need to do there. At 10:58, again, I'm back in that Zoom class in Mr. Whelan's Canvas class for math. Between 12 and 1:15, if I'm at home, I've got lunch. Then at 1:17, now I'm going into Mr. Rayflab's Canvas class and I'm logging into his Zoom link. And at 2:20, then I'd be going into Mrs. Drexel's Zoom link for class. So that's what it would look like if I'm a virtual student or I'm at home. If you're in person, we'll be with Mr. Whelan in that classroom throughout the course of the day. I know that this is a lot and it feels complicated, but for students, remember especially our older kids, remember what those first few days are like anyways. We've got kids who are lost and trying to find their way, and all of the adults are around you trying to support you. That will be true here as well. We understand it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve to get where we need to be, but we're going to make sure that you get there. It just might take a little while to figure this out, but we've got your back. We're going to help you out, and it will settle into this new routine. Parents and students, as you notice, whether or not, if there's any inaccuracies in your schedule, for example, if you thought you had signed up for Spanish, but there's no Spanish class, please reach out to your child's counselor. Again, counselors are set up by last name. Students A through K are with Miss Wendt, and students L through Z are with Mr. Truel. And so please email them if you do notice that there might be an error in your schedule. But ultimately, everything that's in there can easily be fixed if there's any errors, okay? We will make sure we help you out. So if you have questions that I can help you with, please do let me know. Otherwise, again, I appreciate your patience, and we'll see you in a couple days. Bye-bye.